Well, students, good morning. How are all of you doing? Today, we are going to study more about essay writing. But before that, let us see our learning objectives.
On completion of this episode, students will be able to learn to identify the usefulness of essay writing by realizing that it helps in improving our language. Realize the importance of reading. Explain about expository, imaginative, and reflective essays. Define all the three types of essays dealt in the module. Describe how these are written. Differentiate between all three of them. Gaze through different examples to further enhance their understanding.
Now, let us proceed with our today's class. In today's class, we will discuss the following three types of essays: imaginative, reflective, and definitive. You would have noticed one thing in the previous class. Both the essays had same structure. Even these three will have same structure. It is only the content which will change. Okay, first we will begin with imaginative essay. Let us listen to a poem. I'm going away, away for the day, to a land of my imagination. A place filled with splendor, splendor and wonder, of enchanting beauty. Nowhere else would you see. Where all trees could talk, talk as they walk. What tales have they to tell me? Where fairies would sing, sing songs of spring, as they dance, a dance just for me. Where golden dragons fly, fly high in the sky, and white unicorns run wild, run free. So, if you would like to go to, all you have to do is use your imagination. Well, students, what have you understood from the following poem? What is the style of the poet? The poet has used his imagination and has taken himself to a world of fiction, to his dream world. This world is untouched by vices of the real world. The new world has nothing to do with the real world. No facts, no truths of life. Yes, similarly, an imaginative essay is fiction, actually a type of short story. Students are asked to imagine a particular historical or fantastic situation and write the rest of the story. Depending on the prompt, the imaginative essay can discuss anything from space travel to civil rights. Well, students, there are some simple tips you need to keep in mind to write an imaginative essay. Instructions or tips. Step 1. Think about the prompt and brainstorm some ideas. Usually, imaginative essays start with a hypothetical situation and ask you how you would respond to it. Hypothetical situation means some reason, situation without any proof. Step 2. Pick the idea you like best and write it. Write what you would do, how other characters would react, and how the situation would end up. The points mentioned before will make the base of your essay. On the basis of these 3 points, you will base your essay because you need a reason to write, and these 3 will be your reasons. Step 3. Add sensory details. How do you feel? What do people and things around you look like? You need to touch the senses of the reader. In other terms, it is called playing with emotions. Step 4. Add realistic conversation. Imagine actually interacting with the characters around you. Do you see eye to eye, or do you have different perspectives? Show it through your conversation. Conversations will bring element of interest in your writing. Step 5. Add historical details. If you are writing about the Civil War, for example, you might mention fighting in a particular battle or serving under a particular leader. If you are writing about a future event, you could make up some details from a future history to make your story seem more realistic. For example, if you are imagining the world in 100 years, you could look back on the end of the oil age or the accomplishments of a future president. Historical details will bring element of truth to your writing. Step 6. Add some personal change. The best characters are dynamic characters. Your character should see things differently or act differently by the end of the story. You can also show how other characters change. For example, your character could start out headstrong and impulsive, get into some problems as a result of this trait, and learn to be more patient by the end of the story. In literature, this is called a character arc. Step 7. Proofread your imaginative essay. Make sure that you use proper spelling and good grammar and punctuation. For an imaginative essay, you will not have to use formal language, but you will need to show your mastery of the mechanics of writing. Well, children, these are some points to help you in your writing. Now, let us read one imaginative essay. What if we all had 2 sets of eyes? Sometimes, while taking a shower or standing in line, I have asked myself, what if? To amuse my mind. At other times, I employ this method, not just for fun, but to prove a point. Dreaming about other worlds does not necessarily lead to any kind of logical proof. I still believe this method might help you in dealing with the perplexities of life, with questions you may have about why things are the way they are. These are just some of the thoughts I have been kicking around in my own mind for years and felt I'd better finally share them with you as an example of how you could use your own imagination. On several occasions, I have tried to imagine what the world would be like if we all had 2 sets of eyes. The proverbial phrase, "He's got eyes in the back of his head," indicates where the best place would be for an extra set of eyes on humans. Of course, in a world where this was true, that phrase itself would become just as laughable as hearing someone exclaim in our own, "He's got eyes in front of his head." And I'm sure that Well, duh, or something like it would still be an appropriate response. Not only would our phrase about eyes in the back of your head be eliminated, but the meaning of the word back itself would be greatly reduced. It would lose every sense of reference to a blind spot and would simply mean the side without a nose and mouth, something like your other front. People must often move away from or towards a particular situation or object they are observing as soon as possible. Fleeing from danger or running to help someone are obvious examples. If we could view things from both our front and the other front, we'd obviously need to have legs that could be used to walk and run in two different directions. Remember, this is my alternate world, so go imagine your own if you don't like it. Therefore, shoe sizes would almost double, since we would also have two sets of toes on each foot, which would be shaped something like this. The upright line being one of our legs, basically with almost 2 feet per leg growing opposite to each other. And if those feet couldn't be made to slide both sets of toes into our shoes at once, we would simply have to use some kind of strap-on sandals instead. There might not be such a thing as our present-day heel, both literally and figuratively. Then again, we would still need a hard bone at the bottom center of our feet, so maybe we would call that a heel instead. There's obviously a whole lot more that could be said about a world like this, and maybe you will be able to imagine some other fantastically odd things about it on your own. But what were my conclusions about such a world? Or, more accurately, how did I apply these thoughts to my own life? Well, students, did you see how the writer has expressed his own imagination? And all the points discussed above have also been incorporated. So, if you keep those points in mind, you can easily write your essay. Are there any queries? No? So, let us proceed further. Next, we will discuss reflective essays. Look into a mirror. The first thing you probably see is yourself looking back at you. Keep looking though, and you'll also see what's behind you. What are reflective essays? Writing a reflective essay is similar to looking into a mirror, except that instead of seeing objects reflected in the room behind you, you see reflections of a past experience. Reflective essays are usually written at the completion of a milestone. For instance, a scientist may write a reflective essay at the completion of an experiment, or a student may be asked to write a reflective essay at the end of a course or study or the completion of an individual or class project. An essay on my summer vacation could be a reflective essay. Are reflective essays and informative essays the same? A reflective essay is not to be confused with an informative essay. While an informative essay relates facts like where you went, what you did, and how much things cost. A reflective essay is an evaluation, or it's a record of your feelings and findings from the beginning of your experience until the end. In addition to concluding with a summary of your subject, the conclusion to a reflective essay usually also includes what you learned from the experience. So, students, I expect you to understand reflective essays. How shall we proceed writing reflective essays? The essay format of introduction, body and conclusion is at its strongest when used to write a reflective essay. Begin writing your essay by describing your subject, your feelings and/or expectations at the beginning of the project, and by partly disclosing or hinting at your conclusion. Example: I did not want to go to South Dakota last summer, but by the end of our summer vacation, I learned that the Black Hills are really more green than black and the Badlands really aren't so bad at all. Your essay body would go on to describe your Black Hills vacation, examining not just the points of interest, but also why you found them interesting. This particular essay might conclude with the trip's highlights and the reasons you came away feeling that the Badlands really aren't so bad at all. In most reflective essays, as well as describing what went right, you will also want to describe what went wrong or what could be improved and how. For instance, in the example, you might describe attractions you did not visit that you would like to see, and/or side trips that disappointed you and why. Alternatively, you might describe things you packed that you did not need and things you did not pack that you wished you had brought with you. The most important factor to remember in writing a reflective essay is that your opinions and conclusions should directly relate to the experiences you examine in the essay body. Well, students, you must have understood by now how reflective essays are written. Now, let us see this example. Stressed out from the New York lifestyle, Peter, a young adult who worked as a salesman, decided to give up everything he had to start a new life. Peter sold all his valuable possessions such as house, car, television and clothes. The rest of his possessions that he could not sell, or better, that nobody would buy, he gave away to Goodwill, a non-profit company whose good deeds live up to their name. All the money that Peter raised was used to buy a boat, which he thought was like a ticket for the paradise. Days before the final day to leave, he said his goodbyes for all his friends and family. However, he did not mention to them that he was not planning on coming back. It was a beautiful day when he got in the boat and cut the cord, which was the only thing that was holding him away from his dream. While Peter was alone in the boat, many thoughts came into his mind, but most of them were not just thoughts but questions about why was he running away from his life and what was he really looking for. The answers came sooner than what he was actually expecting. About 2 weeks later. Now from here, try and complete this essay by yourself. Well, we are left with our last type of essay called expository essay. What is an expository essay? Expository essays require that the writer gives information, explains the topic, or defines something. There are some special features to it. They are best developed by the use of facts and statistical information, cause and effect relationships, or examples. Since they are factual, they are written without emotion and usually written in the third person. That means that the use of the pronoun I is not usually found within the essay. Is the format of the essay same as other essays? It is almost same. It is only that you have to pay attention to some special features. The thesis statement must be defined and narrow enough to be supported within the essay. Each supporting paragraph must have a distinct controlling topic and all other sentences must factually relate directly to it. The transition words or phrases are important as they help the reader follow along and reinforce the logic. Finally, the conclusion paragraph should originally restate the thesis and the main supporting ideas. Finish with a statement that reinforces your position in a meaningful and memorable way. Never introduce new material in the conclusion. Well, children, expository writing is totally based on scientific or logical facts as compared to the imaginative writing, which is based on fiction. Here is your example. Example: it is widely known that a completely healthy human being is a person who is healthy in every single aspect of the term health. Health is maintained not only by physical exercising but also by maintaining a healthy diet. Having a nice, fit and strong body cannot be a guarantee of real health. This is because health has various dimensions. These dimensions include every single part of the life of a human, a man, a woman, or a child. The violation of the functioning of any of these dimensions may have a deep impact on the weight management of a person. Before starting to analyze the exact ways these dimensions influence the weight management, it is necessary to mention all of them. The 7 dimensions of health are the physical dimension, spiritual dimension, emotional or psychological dimension, social, mental or intellectual, occupational and environmental dimensions. Well, here are some topics and hints for you to write. Health essay topics. For some people, TV and junk foods seem as addictive as drugs and alcohol, for they feel at loss without them. Think about the things you and your friends do almost every day. Now describe some of the things teenagers seem to need on a daily basis. Leadership essay topic. Every country has heroes. They may be political, religious, or military leaders, but they serve as moral leaders by whose examples we can follow in our quest to live lives of excellence. Think about someone you know who shows moral leadership. Now explain why this person should be regarded as a moral leader. Well, students, we are through with our different types of essays. I hope each type is clear to you. Go through them once again very carefully. Well, now I am going to show you one example. You have to identify out of the 3 types of essays which we have studied today, which one is this. You will get a small example, and from that you have to identify the type of essay. Question. As I pulled into my parents' driveway, I realized how loud the radio was. I turned it down, peeled my legs off the blue vinyl seat, and lugged my pile of laundry up to the front door. The doorknob would not turn, and I still had not got around to making myself a duplicate key. I rang the bell and waited. Nothing. Leaving my basket of dirty clothes on the steps, I tramped through the bushes in front of the living room window. Pep was across the room sitting in his usual chair and reading the paper. He was a familiar sight in his plaid flannel shirt, striped clip-on bow tie and tweed cabbie hat. Answer: reflective essay. My next question. What would life be without music? The world would be a very quiet place. Music is in many ways the fabric of our lives and the definition of a society. It is a reminder of how things once were, an indication of how things are, and a view of where society is headed. Music is a direct reflection of the picture of society. Music can be a way to deliver messages, a poetic medium, a fine art, or nothing more than a source of entertainment. No matter what it is used for, music is the perfect art, and our lives would be that much less complete without it than as we know it. It would not at all be the same without music, the perfect art. It has movement because it progresses over a set period of time. All musical works have a beginning and an end. Answer: imaginative essay. Well, students, now I expect you to have complete knowledge of essay writing. I expect you to follow the guidelines given and write good essays. All the best in your endeavor for writing good essays. Goodbye.